All right, so I'm gonna do a reconstruction and recreation of the Valentinian candle lighting ceremony. I just want to do an explanation first of everything you see that's going on here, so you know what the deal is. Um, so with that, I had to draw from multiple different sources because uh, we don't have any complete and accurate records out there. The ones that we do have tend to have lacuna. I believe the plural is lacunae, right, with an like ae at the end, where it's like when you see the brackets and there's dot dot dots in between, that means there's something that's missing. And it's like we don't have those portions because they've been lost because they got degraded over time, or like burned or destroyed somehow. And so I had to pull from multiple different sources and then fill in the blanks of what's missing in order to explain um, like how the process works. I had to kind of pull from other places that are more modern, just because the ancient records are incomplete. Um, so this is what I'm using as an altar cloth. I just got a tablecloth and I drew. Looks kind of like a summoning circle. It's a Star of David, also known as a hexagram, inside a circle with some dots around it. Um, I drew it that way because that's kind of what the Jewish altar cloth looks like, and I figured that's probably what they used because it was what was available to them at the time. I've seen some modern Gnostics use uh, like pentacles, like a pentagram inside a circle, because they get it from like a Wiccan or pagan shop, or whatever. I think that's fine. That's just like that's exactly the same thing they were doing. Is like all our text says is a star in a circle. Like, what does that mean? So they used whatever was available to them, which was probably Jewish rituals. And I've seen a lot of modern people use like pagan or Wiccan ones because it's easy to buy and easy to find. Whereas I wanted to get kind of more authentic, or what I think it looked like, so that's why I created my own. Um, Now in the center would be usually like a text, so I just use my Holy Bible here, but they would have like scrolls probably that have been like Psalms or Proverbs or whatever. Um, and then around that they would put the candles. Now this is the order they most likely used. I'm going to explain why briefly. Is that this is the Neoplatonic order, and the Valentinians were Neoplatonists as opposed to following Aristotle. Like the Aristotelian ordering tends to be, you have water and fire are opposites. And by the way, if I'm saying water and it sounds like washer, like a washing machine, I have a speech impediment, so I apologize. I'm talking about the liquid or the fluid. Um, so water and fire are opposites in Aristotle's view, and air and earth are opposites. In Neoplatonism, it's fire and earth are opposites, and you put the opposite ones diagonal or across from each other, so it goes fire, earth, water, air. Um, Now, traditionally, red would represent fire, blue would represent air, either green or black would represent earth, and then either purple or yellow would represent air. Uh, Sometimes purple is, it was really hard to come by back then, so that's why I'd use yellow instead. It was easier to come by. Now, at the front of their altar, they would have on the ground they would have a incense burner, which I don't have the big fancy incense burner that sits on the ground. So I just have like a regular incense burner and incense. Valentinians, for whatever reason, preferred to use balsam. It's recorded in the writings of Irenaeus. Uh, we don't think that was required. We just think that's the scent that Valentinius himself said he liked. He was like, "It smells good. That's what I'm using." Um, in order to raise a pleasing odor to the Lord. So before they would start the ritual, they would light this before they would do anything else. Except, like I said, it would be in like the big golden one sitting on the ground, as opposed to something like this. You don't have to have all fancy. Now I decorated my altar. It does not have to be decorated. I put representations of each element around. So for fire, I put the uh, oil lamp, also known as menorah. We usually think of menorah as like the candelabra, but originally it referred to an oil lamp like that. I put a bell for air, a bowl of kosher salt for the earth, and a chalice for water, um, which you could also use like a Jewish Kiddush cup. And you could also have other things like the olive oil is what's used to light the lamps. You could have the olive oil for the fire. You could have a bottle of wine for the water element. I think I covered everything. Oh, get the floor here, the rug. So underneath, this is optional. You don't have to do this. I did. I put down a rug that's black and white checkerboard. That's allegedly what they used underneath their altar tables or altars. Was they'd have a black and white checkerboard floor. It was to imitate the Temple of King Solomon. So I wrote this particular prayer or blessing based on the text that we have. I kind of, like I said, I filled in the blanks because we're missing a lot of it. So basically, the text that we have would say that they would pray to God or the Creator, and you can use a few different phrases, substitute depending on what you feel comfortable with. I'm going to use Father here. I also have or Creator, or you can use All Father. They used all of the above depending on which denomination or sect they belong to. And you would thank him for each of the elements, and then you would ask a archangel to purify each of the elements. And we do not have which archangel went with which element. That part's completely missing. So I went in and filled in with their traditional current correspondences. And you would basically go around the circle starting with air and going clockwise until you reach fire, and thank God or the Creator for each one, and then invoke the corresponding angel, and then lastly you do an invocation of Sophia, the goddess or spirit of wisdom, asking her to enter into the temple as well. So I'll go ahead and light this incense first, and then start doing the candle lighting. So you can see here what that would actually look like. We thank thee, Father, for this element of air, and we invoke thee, Raphael, to purify it, so that we may be purified by it. We thank thee, Father, for this element of earth, and we invoke thee, Uriel, to purify it, so that we may be purified by it. We thank thee, Father, for this element of water, and we invoke thee, Gabriel, to purify it, so that we may be purified by it. We thank thee, Father, for this element of fire, and we invoke thee, Michael, to purify it, so that we may be purified by it. And lastly, we welcome thee, Sophia, Spirit of Wisdom, into our presence to kindle the light of the Spirit, which is the candle we hold in our hearts. Amen. So, are you still recording?
Yeah.
So, just one more note about the prayer blessing there. It has to do with this idea or concept that came from the Gnostic creation myth, which they borrowed from the Zoroastrians, which was this idea that there was a world before this one that was called the Dark World, and it was made up of unholy elements, and I forget what they all are. There's different versions. It's basically like blood and ash and darkness, and it's all scary. And then God is kind of like cosmic chemist, comes in and is like, I'm introducing holy elements, and they're going to bind with those, and that created our world. And so we invoked the angels as they correspond to each one of their elements to come in and purify it so that we can return to the good world as opposed to the dark one. So that's basically of what that has to all to do with. I think that's about it. Thanks for watching, and I hope this was enlightening to anybody. You got something out of it.